Fitzpatrick takes the snap, drops back, lobs it back right corner. Decker! He's got it! Touchdown! Eric Decker scores! And the Jets have won it in overtime!
This is the Jet Take with Ben Blessington and Kyle Fahey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Jet Take. I'm your host, Ben Blessington, and I think it's safe to say that the New York Jets 2017 season is officially over. I guess it's been over for a lot of people for a while, but we'll hop into the show. Yes, as you can hear, my co-host, Mr. Money, Kyle Fahey. Kyle Fahey is very excited. As we're also joined by Mr. Scott Mason from the Play Like a Jet podcast. Scott, how you doing, man?
What's going on, Ben? You know what I got to ask you guys? This has been killing me for a while. What's the deal with that voice on the guy that says, "This is the Jet Take"? Is that just like computer generated?
No, that's one of my professors.
Ben's gonna love this one. Yeah,
go ahead. It's one of my professors at my broadcast journalism class at my high school.
For the school,
he used to do the Oregon Ducks like football games or basketball games.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
because it sounded like too smooth for like a human being, so I was curious if it was computer generated.
Well, I'll let him know you said that. Yes, well, I guess we'll start by breaking down this Jets-Broncos high-powered offensive game. Kyle, I'll start with you.
Just got a freaky text or something.
No. I just had horrible flashbacks to that game where the Jets had. Did they even have 100 yards of total offense?
Yes, we had 102, I believe, to top it off.
Oh God. Anyways, Kyle, I'll give the mic over to you. I know there's some positive feelings from this game, though. I mean, you got your guys going to be starting this week. Bryce Petty, he's in. The tank is back on for you. You're going to cheer for these next 3 losses. How are you feeling?
Oof. Well, cue the soundbite, Ben. Bryce Petty, baby. Here we go. Yeah. This is his chance. He's going to start 2 out of the 3 of these last games, and then he's going to get replaced by Hackenberg in that last game. So I'm already mentally prepared for that, but I already know what's going to happen, but I've decided to go down on the Titanic here. Going down in a boat with Bryce Petty. All right, that's just got to happen. I know it's going to fail, but I just can't let it go. So Bryce Petty all the way, baby. Regarding the game, horrible. All of our predictions came true, basically. The annual Josh McCown injury.
A little late.
I think we all. Yeah, it was. We got a little scared there. It was a little late, but we dodged a bullet. The offense just never got going. There was no offense. Literally 0 points were scored, folks. The defense, it wasn't bad, but who started for Denver? Trevor Siemian? He played the whole game, right?
Yep.
Trevor Siemian. Just Colin Kaepernick's not playing, but Trevor Siemian is. 26 points to 0. Not a great showing. We saw some mistakes basically at every part of the game. Our long snapper got a concussion. Don't know how that works. Thought you weren't supposed to hit him. That was it. The game was boring as can be. Never got the running game going. Josh McCown left in the 4th quarter. Bryce Petty came in, had terrible footwork, missed wide open receivers. Todd Bowles looked like stone as ever, I guess. He just had no emotion. It was just this may sound like very stupid. I'm having a hard time putting words together. It was that bad. It's hard to describe this game because it was brutal to watch.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Kyle, and I'm gonna jump off topic for just a second. Kyle, I want you to know it's halftime between the Heat and the Blazers. The Heat are up 10 points, so we got to watch that.
Yeah,
game.
I just saw Wayne Ellington just wet right in your face and kill Udonis Haslem on the sideline. Did you see that?
Don't worry. The Blazers are gonna come back. But back to this game.
I'm gonna at you on that. I have to unblock you on Twitter first.
But it was tough to watch. A lot to break down here. I guess I'll turn it over to you, Scott. Bryce Petty. He's got the final 3 games. Might have less.
Wow.
Might have less if he gets injured or if he looks bad these next 2 games. What are your thoughts? How prepared he's going to be? Are we going to see that much of a difference in 2016 Bryce Petty versus now? Or, I mean, what are you expecting from Bryce, I mean, this weekend and for the rest of the season, based off what you saw in Denver?
It's an interesting question. I don't know. We saw some improvements, or what looked to be improvements, in the preseason, but that was against largely guys that are either backups now or selling life insurance somewhere. So who knows what that really tells you. We're going to find out this week when he has a full week of preparation, although unfortunately the teams he has to play the next 3 weeks, it's really rough. He's on the road against the Saints, one of the best teams in the league. Then they come back. What was that?
No. We might have to edit that out. Go ahead.
Okay. With Kyle, you never know. I had to stop for a second. I'm like, wait a minute. No, so then they come home on Christmas Eve, and Merry Christmas. You've got Phillip Rivers and the Chargers, one of the hottest teams in the league, waiting for you. And then the Patriots, who it looked like they may not need this game now with that loss against Miami, and who knows what's going to happen with the Steelers. They're probably going to need that. So you got 2 road games against 2 of the best teams in the league and a home game on Christmas Eve against one of the other better teams in the league. So I don't know. I think really what this boils down to, and I want to see what you guys thought of this. Today, Todd Bowles came out and said, barring injury, Bryce Petty's the starter for the rest of the season, which tells me this. He believes that Bryce Petty might have a possibility to stick on this roster in some capacity next year, and he wants to give him the opportunity to earn that. But it also tells me that he believes that Christian Hagenberg is worthless, because otherwise, why would you come out and say that? Why would you say, oh, there's no way he's playing? You might say, we'll take it week to week, or the typical weaselly coach thing that a lot of these guys say. But no, he just came right out and was like, Bryce is our starter. So I don't know. I think part of it, too, and I wrote a long piece about this last year, is I think there's a lot involved in the fact that Christian Hagenberg is so embarrassingly bad that they're afraid to put him out there and kind of showcase their mistakes. So what they're hoping to do is let Petty play, and if he plays well enough to maybe earn a roster spot for next year, he's back in a second or third string capacity. Then you go out and you spend money on Kirk Cousins, or you draft Baker Mayfield or whoever, and all of a sudden Christian Hackenberg's an afterthought, and nobody has to even think about the fact that they wasted a second-round pick on him. So, I don't know. What did you guys think about that? I thought it was a weird thing for Bowles to say, but that's what it told me.
Yeah, I mean, Bowles is, you never know. I also saw him that he also said that he thought somebody commented on the lack of energy that the Jets came out with, and he said, no, I thought we came out with the most energy we've had all year, or something like that. And I was just like, are you joking? Are you joking? I mean, I guess if the max energy is just matching your emotion on the sideline, then yeah, we came out.
He probably heard one guy scream like, heck yeah, and he was like, wow. They're really
But, so you never know with Bulls. It's kind of hard for me to believe that they're going to let a second-round draft pick go without even ever seeing him on the field. But I think you're right, Scott. I think that is their plan. I mean, I think they see more in Bryce Petty than they do in Christian Hackenberg, and I think Bulls...
Oh, wow. Who called that? Wow. Just saying.
Kyle, I never said Bryce Petty was good. I think they see more in him than Christian Hackenberg. I
didn't say he was good either. I'm just saying.
Yes, you did over the summer. You thought he was going to be their starting quarterback for the next year, and you thought he was going to be. You said he was going to lead us to 8-8 or something. Or no, never mind.
What?
My bad. You said 2-14.
No.
You said 2-14, but you said he was going to be good.
That was a lie.
I remember you said he was going to be good. 2-14. I will pull the soundbite.
8-8.
My bad.
Really?
I don't know why I said 8-8. I think it was
because
he was going to throw 18 touchdowns and 8 interceptions or something. It had a lot to do with 8. I don't remember. Anyway,
such a liar just to back himself up. It's amazing.
A liar?
Yeah.
Well, why are you calling me a liar? I'll pull up the soundbite. I got to find it though.
Go ahead.
It's in one of these old episodes. I'm actually going through this. I'm going to find this.
Sure.
Anyways, what was it?
Go ahead.
Young player emergence. I don't know. I'll find an article where you talk about him. But for any of our listeners that listened over the summer, they can attest that Kyle was big on the Bryce Petty bandwagon.
Over Christian Hackenberg, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Hack was rough. But I think they should give him.
Really, yeah.
I think there's really no reason why you. I mean, I think you should play Petty probably for this next game, and then if he's bad. I think Bulls definitely should have said week to week, but I think he wants to give Bryce the confidence that, he's the starter for the rest of the year. But if Bryce is bad this week, why play him the next 2 games? I mean, even if you're throwing him to the Wolves, just put Hackenberg in there. I mean, at that point, if he plays bad, you're 5-9. It's like, just throw him in, see how he does. He might suck, but at least you get to see, okay, does Christian Hackenberg at least deserve a shot to be on the roster next year? I mean, so I think he's going to give Bryce the first chance because Bryce is closer to being out the door just because he's been here a year longer, and nothing has happened. Even though I think that he's probably better, he's a better quarterback than Christian Hackenberg is right now. But if Bryce lays an egg this next week or the week after that, then I think they should go to Hackenberg. But I think the reason they're going to Bryce is they want to see, because Scott, as you mentioned, I mean, they're going to bring in another quarterback this year. So, let's say.
I hope so.
Well, I will be. I can't even describe how angry I'll be if they bring back McCown and draft Josh Allen or whatever. But let's just say for great situation, the Jets draft Baker Mayfield or sign Kirk Cousins or whoever. So they have another quarterback that they're all excited about. So then you have him, and your options are you either bring back McCown to be your backup kind of mentor, Mark Brunell-esque type of guy who had success and chemistry with the other wide receivers. And then it's like, well, you're not carrying 4 quarterbacks again because that's another roster spot, and now you have your perennial starter. So then Petty and Hackenberg battling it out, or you don't bring McCown back, and then you have to trust Bryce Petty as your backup. So I think that's what Bowles is doing. I think he's playing for the future. Seeing Petty is probably the guy who will go first out of Hackenberg or Petty. But honestly, if I were Bowles, if I had seen Hackenberg in practice every day, it wouldn't surprise me to see Hackenberg go. But I think Bowles is just going to see Petty, see if he deserves a chance to be on the roster next year, and if not, then they'll probably cut him in the offseason when they bring in their new guy. Now, Scott, I wanted to get your thought on Coach Bowles' performance, and we'll go around, the table on different positions. And Kyle, I'll go over to you after Scott. But this is probably, I think this past game was probably the worst coach game Bowles has had all year. Do you think that's a bit of an overstatement? Because I feel like he's done a good job all year, hasn't had too many glaring clock, management issues. I think really the only one I can recall was the punt in Buffalo. But then you go to this game, I mean, first of all, the situation was, I believe there was, a little over a minute to go. The Broncos were about to kick a field goal. You get ball after half, and you have 3 timeouts. So it's easy. Call the timeout. If McManus misses the kick, you have a full minute, great field position, and you can, go and get some points and then maybe take the lead after half. If he makes it, you still have a minute. You're probably going to be on your own 25 because touchbacks are all that happens, and you can drive and have 2 timeouts and try to get a field goal or a touchdown or whatever. Easy call. Bowles doesn't make, burns 30 seconds off the clock. The Jets knee it and go to half. Then the other thing that was mind-boggling is just the amount of times the Jets were punting down 4 possessions. I mean, I understand if there's a minute to go in the game, it's like, okay, I'm just going to punt the ball. But, if there's 8 minutes to go and you're down 23, it's like you're not close enough where a punt helps you, but you are close enough that, hey, if you could get some points on the board and go for 2, and that's 8-24, you still have a shot. It's a long shot. But, I mean, it was amazing me that Bowles is punting on, 4th and 4 on his own 40 with 8 minutes to go, and you're down 23 points. I mean, he punted maybe, 6 times in the fourth quarter, and you're down 3 possessions. What are you doing? I mean, he's rolling over. What type of message does that send to the young guys? That you're just rolling over mid-game, like, oh, we played 3 quarters, it's not going our way, we're going to quit. It's like, I don't know. I understand if it's way late, there's a minute to go, you're down 26 points. I get it. It's like, you know what, let's just get out of here, and we'll take our L and move on. But if there's at least a chance to win, you have to go for it. I mean, it's like, it's the equivalent of having, 2 seconds left, you're on your own 10-yard line, you need a touchdown, and then you just, spike it. It's like, yeah, are you going to score? Probably not. But you at least have to try. I mean, I don't know. It's just,
that would stop the clock.
Fall down, take a sack. I don't know, Kyle. Whatever you want. It was for the analysis purposes. I'm just saying I think Bowles didn't prepare his team well. I think part of the, when you get shut out in the league, I think it belongs, and I know I've been rambling a lot, so Kyle, it's going to you next, because I can tell you're getting antsy. When you get shut out, I mean, a lot of the blame has to go to Bowles. I don't doubt that some blame goes to other people, but Bowles and his vaunted defense had an okay game, but against Trevor Siemian, you allowed 26 points. You weren't getting much help from your offense, I agree, but your team looked slow. They didn't play with any energy. Your clock management was terrible. You looked emotionless on the sideline. I don't know. I think that Bowles should be back next year, despite that laundry list of criticism I just gave him, but that's a whole other issue. We'll talk about that after this. But I wanted to I'll start with you, Kyle, and then we'll go to Scott. Just your thoughts on how Coach Bowles did this Sunday, and just, I mean, your opinion on his future with this team.
Well, Ben, I sent you the text this afternoon. I saw one of my old graphics, the Fire Bowles graphics, or initially the Fire Bowles post editing. I saw it on Twitter being used as some propaganda, and I'm going to go find that tweet. Ben, I mean, you didn't read it.
I saw it.
Just didn't acknowledge it. Okay. So these were hopefully former Coach Todd Bowles' wins on the road. The Browns twice. The Dolphins on a
by
neutral
3 points. By 3 points, we may add.
Yes. The Dolphins by 13 on a neutral field in London. The Colts by 13 with a hurt Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck was not hurt. I don't know what he's talking about. Andrew Luck played that game.
He had a major shoulder injury that has held him out all of this year.
But Kyle, first of all, that's not true. That game was in 2015. So I understand
he was 2015 then.
I know, but Kyle, he still had a terrific year that year.
But he was hurt.
Kyle, it doesn't matter. He's still.
And they're just not a good team, regardless.
Yes, you could say that, but that was the only one I was like, okay, first of all, Andrew Luck wasn't hurt. Every player on that football field that plays a consistent amount of downs is nagging injuries. I agree that if they were playing, Andrew Luck now, yeah, he's hurt, but no, in 2015 he was healthy enough to win. He looked good. He had a good game. But continue.
He was not healthy enough to win. Just saying.
Yeah, Kyle. What was his? Keep talking, but.
Okay. The Giants. They're not good. I don't think they've been good.
It was okay. You're messing this up. It was the Giants at MetLife Stadium, so another kind of neutral field.
Yeah. And then the Cowboys with Kellen Moore. The Bills by 6. And then the 49ers in overtime. Was any of that impressive to you? Was any of that showing up? No, it wasn't. None of it was. This team doesn't show up on the road, and that's a problem. And if he says, they were motivated in this game, no, they weren't. You know how many points they put up? It's the same amount of brain cells Todd Bowles has. He's a zombie. He's trying to take everybody else's brain cells because he can't put it together for his own right now. He doesn't know what he's doing. He clearly has not improved time management-wise. We still see JoJo Natson getting snaps over Darius Stewart. I'm not a Hackenberg fan, but you don't go out and say that Bryce Petty is going to be the starter for the rest of the year. You don't do that. You say it's going to be week by week and we'll judge based on performance. Because, Bryce Petty had a better preseason, yeah. Every other report saying Christian Hackenberg had a better offseason in general. So the depth chart should be even. Hackenberg wasn't even taking second-team reps. He was taking scout team reps. Don't even know how that works. I just don't know what we're doing. And then he wants to insult players who are bringing fire to the team, saying, oh, yeah, he probably shouldn't be promoting himself for the Pro Bowl. Camera was in his face. Let him do what he wants. Seems like the only guy in this team with fire. I know damn well Muhammad Wilkerson isn't playing with it, and you suspend him for a quarter. He showed up how many times this year late? We're still playing this money? He's still getting playing time? Are you kidding me? Come on, man. That's not how you coached. That's not how you lead by example. I'm done.
Yeah. Fair to say. Hard to argue with the Muhammad Wilkerson thing in particular. With Bowles, it's weird. I spoke to Joe Caparoso about this on the TOJ podcast this week, but I'm kind of ambivalent about him. I know Kyle wants him gone. Ben, it seems like you want him to stay. I really don't care. I'm fine with giving him another year. I'm fine with deciding that it's time to move on from him. Either way, do whatever you want. I don't think that he's proven enough to get some sort of contract extension, but I also don't know that he's been a 100% disaster. I think there's been some good and some bad. Kyle, you just highlighted a lot of the bad. It seems like a lot of the players have rallied around him for a lot of the year this year, especially the younger guys seem to have taken to him. That's a positive. The clock management's been spotty. You highlighted and Dalvin Asario talked about this as well in a piece that he wrote, the inconsistent nature of the punishments. Muhammad Wilkerson gets 1 quarter for being late to like 5 team meetings. Darren Lee gets suspended for a game for being late to a practice. And I know some people have said there's a difference between practice and team meetings, but look, like I told you guys, just as an example, the guy that I share an office with at work was a Division I wrestler, and if he was a nanosecond late to a practice, there was hell to pay. So that's just the way that high-level athletics goes. I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like, being late for a meeting at a regular job is not the same as being late for a meeting when you're in the NFL or you're a college football player or something like that. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's very little chance. I shouldn't say any chance because you never know. I think there's very small chance that Todd Bowles is gone at the end of the year, and I think there's a variety of reasons. The first one is I think Chris Johnson is going to be reluctant to make a big move like that, especially when you consider the fact that the expectations were fairly low. Now, even though there's this narrative going around that the Jets are going to go 0-16 or 1-15, most people didn't really think that. Kyle, I know you had them at 3-13. I had them at 4-12. And if you go on, just as an example, Turns.com, you can look. Before the season, we all did predictions, and most of us had it as 3-13, 4-12.
Hey.
I think Joe Malfa might have had it as 2-14.
I had 7-9. Thank you very much.
Did you have 7-9?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't in your little article, but Kyle can confirm on our show that I was in the 7-9, 8-8 bandwagon.
Well, to be fair, it wasn't my little article. It was a round table. So.
Right, well, I don't know if I was a part of TOJ
first
then.
Of all, Ben, first of
I
all.
think you were if Kyle was in it. If Kyle was in it, why wouldn't you have been in it?
I did write a whole article, not to. Before we were on TOJ, I wrote a whole article on another website. 7 reasons why the Jets would be better in 2017 than they were in 2016. Like why?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, but I think a lot of people kind of have this weird thing where they go back and look at a handful of national media figures who were yelling that the sky was falling. We all knew this team wasn't good, but I don't think that most of us went into the season thinking they were going to be the worst team of all time. So I think you could say Bowles outpaced expectations, but maybe slightly overall. But I don't think that he's going to get fired for that reason, because I think the expectations were so low that you could say, well, this team didn't have a lot and he went 5-11 or whatever. And the other thing is, believe it or not, I think the McCown injury actually works to his benefit in the regard that now you can make the excuse of, well, what did you want him to do? He won 5 games. His quarterback was out for 3 games. Bryce Petty or Christian Hagemer aren't even NFL-level starters, blah, blah, blah. And so I think it's going to be difficult to see him gone for those reasons. I think McCagnon stays as well. Now, again, McCagnon, for me, same thing I said with Bowles. I think he's been a mixed bag, and I would be fine if the Jets decided to move on, but I'm fine if he stays another year. But I will say this is going to be their opportunity to sink or swim, or it should be, because they're going to have potentially over $100 million in cap space. They're going to have, you would assume, a lot of high-quality draft picks, especially if they do lose the last 3 games. They'll have an opportunity to finally do something at quarterback, whether that means through the draft or whether that means throwing a whole pile of money at Kirk Cousins. Either way, it would be a major upgrade over what it should be, depending on what the draft pick ends up doing. It should be a huge upgrade over what they've had for really the past decade or so. So we'll see. Like I said, I think that he hasn't been maybe as good as you've been making him out to be, Ben, and maybe not as bad as Kyle's been making him out to be. I know, Kyle, you're the... Well, no, I don't...
He just deserves his 4 years. I mean, and it seems like... I'll let you finish your point, then I'll give my argument why. But
yeah, no, that's fair, and I'm not against that. Like, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm in the middle. I'm not one of these fireball. And the other thing about Bowles is, like, I have to laugh when people are like, this guy shows no emotion. None of that matters to me, because people will say, like, oh, you need a guy with fire, and then people are running Rex Ryan out of town. Or you need a guy who's stoic. Yeah, exactly.
Like, even keeled, that's what you want in your head coach. I actually have no problem with Bowles being even keeled. I'll let you finish the point. I'll let you finish your point.
No, you're right, and I think it's all a matter of if you're a good coach, right? Because Bill Parcells was a fiery, yell and scream kind of guy. Bill Belichick's not, but both of those are 2 of the top 5 coaches in the history of football, and they were very different personality-wise. So I think it really just comes down to whether or not you can coach, because it's just that funny nonsense where you'll have oh, Rich Kotite wasn't hard enough on the players. Let's bring in Parcells. Oh, he was too hard on the players. Let's get Herm Edwards. Oh, Herm Edwards talked too much and was too friendly with the guys. Let's get Eric Mangini, who won't say a word. Oh, now let's get Rex Ryan. Like, it's all about whether or not the guy can coach. I have my doubts about whether or not Bowles can be the guy going forward. I don't know. But like I said, I'm okay with giving him a fourth year. Maccagnan, same thing. Look, Maccagnan has had a lot of hits and misses. He hasn't had a lot of major success in the mid to late rounds, which is how you really judge a general manager generally, because it's a lot easier, obviously, to make quality picks in the first and second round than it is in the fifth and sixth. And what separates the perennially good teams or great teams from the teams that are always middle of the pack or below is the ability to pluck guys in the fourth, fifth, and sixth round, because then you have a cost-controlled quality asset for 4 to 5 years. So we'll see. But to answer your question in the roundabout way, I see a very small chance that Bowles isn't here. Whether or not he deserves it, I mean, I could go back and forth on that, but I think Bowles and Maccagnan are both back in 2018.
Yeah, no, I agree with pretty much everything you said. And, I wouldn't classify myself as like a pro Bowles type of guy, but it's more just...
No, I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying that.
No, I know. I think, there are a lot of things that annoy me, and, you have to ask your question, can you see the Jets winning a Super Bowl with Todd Bowles? And if the answer is no... But the problem is it too early to decide? Because if you asked Jets fans after 2015, they probably would have said, yeah, I can imagine. And he just took Ryan Fitzpatrick and went 10-6. So you're spot on with the whole, you can be fiery or stoic, and it doesn't matter as long as you're a good coach. I actually like that he's even keeled. I think, it sucks when there's a big game and they don't get up for it, but part of the job as a coach is you can't get too high when you win and too low when you lose, because, let's say if you hype a game up like this is the most important thing in the world and then you lose it, I mean, your team's demoralized. So I like that Bowles is even keeled. He's going to go out there, do, execute. So I don't hate that. The clock management really bothers me. That's probably the number one thing. But I'll say this: I think he took a team that a lot of people thought were going to be 2-14. I didn't think so, and I think it sounds like you didn't think so as well. I think we knew that the team wasn't good, but it wasn't going to be, they weren't going to be horrible. He took a team like that, led by Josh McCown, and got some good stuff out of him. The players clearly love playing for him. They respect him, and I think he just deserves his fourth year. Give him a fourth year. Give him a quarterback. Give him one more year of him and Maccagnan's players, and then I think you can decide. But he gets his 4 years because really the Jets. I mean, this is kind of the first year of his contract, because the first two they had a very tight window to win, and they were like, okay, we're going to go for it immediately and get ticket sales up. We're going to go for it all. It almost worked out. They almost got to the playoffs, and then it crashed and burned. So now they're rebuilding. They nuked the roster. And they've got a young nucleus that they're building around. So I think you give them another year. I mean, it's very obvious. I mean, you hear any of those guys talk about Coach Bowles, they clearly love him. I mean, if you saw, I think it was Leonard Williams post, Jamal Adams post, they clearly like Coach Bowles. And I think I think he's a different coach than he is in the media. And so I don't really have any problem with him. If he can patch up the clock management issues, then I think they can win with him. I just think he needs to get one more year with their players and play and finish games and stuff. But I mean, I've loved a lot of the things he's done this year. But when he punts and it's 4th and 2 at midfield and you're down 10 points or whatever with 8 minutes to go, it's frustrating. But if he can patch that up, then I think he deserves another chance. Kyle, finally, we'll go to the extreme negative. Your thoughts on Coach Bowles?
Bad.
All right, and next, no. Okay, would you like to elaborate?
Not really.
Can I make an unpopular point about Bowles and clock management, at least as it pertains to the game that they played this past Sunday against Denver?
No.
If it's anything against my opinion, I'm going to say no.
Well, Kyle, I think you know where I'm going with this because we talked about this on the post-game podcast on Sunday night. But I actually didn't have a problem with Todd Bowles letting the clock run out and not taking the timeouts at the end of the half. And the reason is because the offense was so bad. And I don't mean regular bad. I mean self-destructive bad. They were horrendous to the point where they were honestly lucky that the game was still relatively well in reach at that point. The only thing that I think saved them really was the fact that Denver's offense is pretty bad. Despite Demaryius Thomas having a really good day and Trevor Siemian looking a lot better than he normally does, the Denver offense, if that had been, say, the Patriot offense or the Steeler offense, they might as well have not even come out for the second half. So I think that what Bowles saw was his offense had been just so incredibly bad, turning the ball over, offering Denver so many opportunities that he just felt like, you know what, I can't put the ball back in their hands right now. Let's go into the locker room, regroup at halftime, come out fresh. The last thing I need is to take timeouts to get the ball back. McCown drops back to pass or something, fumbles it or throws an interception, and the Broncos score again. So normally I'm against coaching that way, but considering just how unbelievably bad things have been going in that half in every way, that's a case where I see things Bowles' way. I can't kill him for doing what he did.
But to counter that, why are we starting Josh McCown then if we're worried about that? He is supposed to be like the guy that can control this offense. I don't care how they've been performing the whole game. He is a veteran quarterback who is supposed to be responsible when it matters and not make mistakes, and that's why we're not starting a young quarterback, right? Like, that's the whole point. At least that's what's been clear to me. So 50 seconds, I believe 3 timeouts or 2 timeouts, definitely at least 2. You go out there and you try. Because right now you're sending a message to your team that you don't have trust in your quarterback, you don't have trust in your offense, and that may be fine, but at least act like it, okay? If it gets too scary, maybe he almost fumbles on the first play, run it out. Okay, that's fine. Don't give up like that. You got to at least try, and I hated that.
I mean, I hear you, and it is frustrating, and normally I hate that. I like to go for it at the end of the half, too. But if I may use a boxing analogy, the best way I could put it is, let's say you're in there in the middle of a fight, and you're just getting your doors blown off. You're getting hammered, and you're just getting beaten up. Sometimes it's better to just take a knee, let the referee count you down to 8 or 9, regroup a little bit, try to shake it off, and try to survive to the bell, rather than trying to fight back with roundhouse punches and ending up getting your lights punched out even worse. This is one of those cases where, normally the reason McCown is in there is for exactly what you said, but in this case, he just didn't have it. I mean, even more so than normal. He was really, really awful. The offensive line was terrible. They weren't being able to protect him, and they certainly weren't being able to get anything going. Not that they have for almost the whole year with the running game, so there was nothing doing there either. And it's just a situation where I feel like Bowles felt like if I can just get this thing to halftime with the game still within reach, maybe we can regroup, make some adjustments, and come out in the second half and be a little bit of a different team. That's my thought on it, because I just feel like they were so bad that he just didn't want to take that risk of basically putting it to a point where the scoreboard was going to be such that there would be no coming back. So ultimately it didn't work out, but I think he played the odds there. That's how I saw it. And I believe me, I totally get it, and normally I would be frustrated too, but I just think that the circumstances being what they were, I didn't have a huge problem with what he did.
And what was your thoughts on his late game punting? I mean, I think let me look at it. Hold on. I think that was the one that I agree that I was irked by him not going for it, but I mean, what annoyed me way more was him not going for it at all at the end. I mean, I think he punted 1, 2, 3, 4. What is that? I mean, I think that's like four times in the fourth quarter when you're down 23 points. And the Jets ended up losing 0-23. So it's a 3-possession game, and when you're punting, what is it?
Right.
And there's, what is it? The start of the third. What is it? The start of the fourth quarter or something? It's like, I don't know. I just.
No, I agree. That I agree with you. Yeah, that there's no. I don't understand what the point of that is. I mean, there's actually, and this is a whole other conversation for another time because it's a really long and fascinating topic. But there's data that would suggest that you're often better off going for it on 4th and short than punting regardless, but that's a whole other discussion. But in this case, like you said, when you're down 23-0 in the fourth quarter on the road, what are you doing punting all those times? But because at that point now, it's not like you're going into the locker room or group and you have an entire half of football and the game's within reach. You're now, like you said, you're down 3 scores, and that's if you get 2-point conversions, right? So you got to take some risk at that point. I don't know.
Yeah, it was frustrating to say the least. All right, we talked a bit about Petty, we talked a bit about Bowles, and we'll come back to the whole.
We talk about quarterbacks now. So that's usually the cycle of things around here.
No, we just you want to talk about draft. Well, before we get to the draft, and we'll do.
Baby wants his bottle, Ben. Come on.
I know you want to talk about the quarterbacks. We'll do that. And we might come back to some 2018 stuff with Petty and Bowles, but I want to just let's just go around here and talk a bit about, there's not much positive to say, but Scott, I guess I'll start with you again. Just, do you have any positives to take away from this game?
Adams and May played well. That's the best I could say. And Robbie Anderson, for the opportunities that he had, which weren't much, made the most of them. He made a couple of nice plays. I continue to really be impressed. It's funny, before the season started, my brother, he was on the post-game podcast one week, and it was fascinating to talk to him because, for anybody that doesn't know, my brother is a professional poker player, so he travels all over the country playing in tournaments, and he's been doing this for several years.
What's his name?
Well, you know what my name is, right? So I don't have to tell you what his last name is, but his name is Craig. You can look him up on, I think, was it like World Poker?
Craig Mason. Yeah.
Go for it. You'll find him on there. In fact, if you Google him and write Craig Mason Poker, you'll probably see a bunch of Google images.
Yeah, there he is. All right. Anyways,
there you go.
Going.
So he travels around as a professional poker player, but as I'm sure you'd imagine, being in all these casinos, he's become pretty tight with a lot of these sportsbook guys. So my brother's pretty much an expert on odds, and he can tell you more or less within a half a point what the spread.
Why aren't you rich?
Why aren't I rich? It's a good question. You know what I should do, to be honest with you, and my brother says this all the time, and the facts bear this out. If you want to make money during any given football season, just bet every single week on the Patriots. Because the Patriots every year – well, that too, but I'm saying with the Patriots, every single year, the Patriots have a winning record against the spread. So if you bet the same amount of money every single week on the Patriots, you'll come out ahead. But the reason I'm
just bet against the Browns.
This is true too.
Ben, I don't think you understand. It's not just the game. They actually cover the spread a lot.
Yeah, well, that's true as well. Depending on if you take a parlay or a teaser or whatever, whatever fancy thing you want to do. But the reason I bring this up is because, my brother has gotten very close with a lot of the sportsbook guys, and so he can usually predict the spreads within a half a point or a point, well before the spread actually comes out. And so I'll talk to him all the time and get his insights on different things. And I asked him, and in fact I asked him on the post-game podcast, why did the Jets have such an incredibly hard – if you look at the odds before the season for the Jets winning the Super Bowl, they were astronomical, right? So why what –
plus 3,000, I think, off the top of my head.
It was something insane. And I asked him why, and he said because he had a lot of questions – not only McCown, but it was, who do they have at skill position? You got some guy who's an undrafted. Division. Right, you're in the Patriots division. You've got this undrafted free agent. Anuma gets hurt. You've got this undrafted free agent. And who are you going to rely on to do anything at receiver? But the funny thing about it is, everybody that said, oh, great, where are they going to get anything from this offense? Robbie Anderson? I guess he's fast, but he's turning into a star before our eyes, one of the best receivers in the league, and quite frankly, he's one of the best deep threats in the NFL right now. These guys can't cover him. They're doubling him, and they can't cover him. He's too fast. He's blowing by guys. And he's becoming a complete receiver. I'm not saying he's like the greatest route runner ever, but he's able to use his body now to position himself against defensive backs. He's been able to focus and locate the ball. His hands have really improved. He's become a really, really good receiver. And Jermaine Kearse also, he didn't do much in this game, but Jermaine Kearse has been very, very good for the Jets. But so I would say coming away from this game, that's really what I looked at. I said, okay, Adams and May both played well. Robbie Anderson played well. those are three players that you would think and hope are three players that are going to be cornerstones of this team moving forward. And so there's your positive. The rest of it, not much positive beyond that, right, Kyle?
Positive spin off of Scott's point there. Robbie blows by everybody in the league, which means he's probably going to be covered by the number one corner most times. Quincy Newell getting covered by the number 2 corner, that's not a good idea. And imagine if we have Jermaine Kearse just like in the slot. I mean, it's going to be hard to deal with. So whatever quarterback we have,
over the middle.
Yeah, I mean, give me, even with Bilal Powell, like even if we had Bilal Powell next year as our like starting running back, I mean, give me Baker Mayfield and watch him work, because somebody's going to get open. Because Quincy Newell against the number 2, he usually beats number 1s. Quincy Newell against number 2, that's a GG. That's a dub right there. Jermaine Kearse in the slot, I mean, he's at the Eric Decker level in the slot, and we know how great Decker was in the slot. Basically, any Jets receiver in the slot is productive, and I don't know why. I don't know if that's just because, like, what Todd Bowles likes to hire and offensive coordinators, but Eric Decker, Jermaine Kearse, and Jeremy Curley for the first part of this year were all very productive in the slot. Obviously Eric Decker in the past, but anyway, I'm saying why we're seeing
even when they put Marshall or Nunwa there, mean with Gailey and Morton both of I mean, part of it might be just because we've been starting old quarterbacks that like to go
jump off into the middle.
Over intermediate passes. But the one thing I got to give McCown credit for is, I mean, he has an arm, and his deep throw accuracy. I mean, that was my biggest complaint. I think a lot of people's biggest complaint with Fitz was not just the turnovers and a lot going on.
Stealing money
and the exporting them for $12 million.
Yeah, all right. Besides that, but on field, a lot of it was just, I mean, how many times do we see Robbie Anderson or really anybody just wide open deep and he missed them? I mean, McCown has really been pretty accurate deep this year, and that's the one thing you got to give him. As far as
the only problem with that is, and sorry to step on you a little bit, Ben, but the only problem is that he sometimes doesn't see Anderson open. But when he does, he can get the ball there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You're not going to have a perfect percentage of finding your guy, but I think he definitely has a higher percentage than Ryan Fitzpatrick did of delivering the ball to Robbie Anderson when he was open. Yes, he's had a few misses, but I mean, for the most part, when I see McCown, point that finger and launch it deep, and I see Anderson, I'm like, oh, it's a touchdown. It's been pretty easy. Kyle, I forget, did you ever mention a positive from this game or no?
I did not. So
would you like to give one?
Let me try and think. Kelvin got to see Denver finally. I know he was looking forward to that.
Careful what you wish for, young man.
Yeah. I mean, he said he wanted Von Miller. He got Von Miller.
Sure did.
Von Miller more got Brandon Shell was getting more Von Miller.
Yeah, Brandon Shell. I'm a big Brandon Shell guy. We all know that. Brandon Shell got wrecked. I mean, that's not even a bad thing because he's going against arguably the best pure pass rusher of all time.
I don't know if I go that far, Kyle. You're getting a little carried away.
I mean, name somebody better than him.
That
wasn't on cocaine during the game.
Why does that matter?
I mean,
why does that matter?
Ben, I know you're like white collar, so eventually you'll do cocaine. Okay, now imagine playing.
Jesus Christ!
So let me just describe some of the like side effects to you. Super high active, can like run miles and not even feel it. Feels no pain, right? Okay, just to name a couple things. Now imagine playing football with those being on your side, not being able to feel pain, being at like the height of like sensitivity. It's like, oh crap, he's over there. Run. Oh man, I really want to hurt you. I mean,
Kyle
you're like
has
a dog.
Exquisite knowledge of what it's like to be high on cocaine.
Absolutely. I live by Miami. It happens. I mean, that was just unfair for him playing with cocaine. Like
there are other great pass rushers besides the gentleman you're speaking of, Reggie White, obviously. By the way, let's make this clear.
I can't make the joke I was going to make. Damn it.
In case anybody doesn't know, he's obviously referencing Lawrence Taylor, but Reggie White is another one.
Tomlinson,
yeah, right. Yes, of course, LaDainian Tomlinson. No, so there's also there was Reggie White, Bruce Smith. Absolutely, Bruce Smith was a monster. John Randall is another example.
Kevin
you had
Green.
Kevin Green was a great pass rusher, sure. Even J.J. Watt.
Wait, so Kyle, what was your statement?
Mark Gastineau and
but
what?
Kyle,
Von
what was
Miller's
your
definitely better than Mark Gastineau.
Okay, Kyle, what was the statement you made that Von Miller is the best?
Kyle, you were 20
rusher?
years before fetus level when Mark Gastineau was playing. So
there
but anyway,
are-
keep going.
Kyle, what was your point? Was your point that that Von Miller is the best pass rusher of all time?
At this point in his career, he is already up there.
Bruce Smith has 200 total. Reggie White is 198. Kevin Green is 160. Julius Peppers is 153. I mean, this is the top 20. He's not even in it, so I don't even know where he ranks.
He's only been playing for like 6 years.
No, he's drafted in. I mean, how much? Hold on, let's go.
Von Miller, great player. I'm just saying I feel like it's a little premature to be saying he's the greatest pass rusher of all time. But either way, he's a hell of a player. If he keeps it up, he's headed for Canton, Ohio. I think it's fair to say.
All I'm saying, listen, I know it's before my time, and it's maybe a stupid statement, and I judge it based off today's game. I think a lot of those guys would not be even close to what they were, and it kind of just depends on the time period. I know they dominated in their time. That's okay, great to them. They wouldn't dominate today like Von Miller does.
It's not really a fair comparison though, because there's a lot of different. You know that.
I understand
that.
Yeah, I understand that, but
Kyle, why? Why do you think they wouldn't dominate the way the Von Miller does?
They're not as athletic.
I mean, can you really just say that?
Yes, 100%.
I mean, why? What reasons do you have to say that they were not as athletic?
They were smoking cigars at halftime in Super Bowl III.
We're not talking about Super Bowl III. We're talking about when Bruce Smith.
I'm just saying,
he's the all-time leading sack leader. Why is he less athletic?
And Bruce Smith was so good.
He was good for his time. Very good. Probably the best in his time period.
He has 200 sacks. He leads the NFL total ever.
He was more. Bruce Smith was more than good.
Ben, that's saying Joe Namath is a great quarterback, though. Even in today.
No, if Joe Namath has the most,
it's really not.
It's really not, Kyle. Bruce Smith is the all-time leader in sacks at 200. Yeah. Von Miller has played 6 years, 7 years. He was drafted in 2011. So whatever. He has 83. So let's say Von Miller. How long do you think Von Miller is going to play?
Probably 15 years.
15 years, jeez. I would think
it's a different age. It's different.
Really long career.
I mean, these guys train all year round. I mean,
you can't really compare.
You can't say that Bruce Smith. Yeah, and also people are throwing more now than they did. So maybe there's more opportunities to get after the quarterback.
That's true too.
So maybe if Bruce Smith was playing, he'd have more opportunities to get after the quarterback and he'd have more sacks, Kyle. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can say. I'm just saying, Bruce Smith,
and I can also say that the left tackles and right tackles of those times were nothing compared to today's.
How? How can you say that?
I don't know, man. Did you watch Anthony Munoz?
Ben,
Jackie Slater, Anthony Munoz. I mean, some of those guys were unbelievable.
I would say that Kelvin Beachum, if he played in.
We're not talking about Kelvin Beachum.
I'm saying if Kelvin Beachum played in the 80s, he would be considered a Hall of Fame level.
What is your basis for that?
That they were not as athletic.
Kyle, you were doing good, and you're having a great show, and then you just made some stupid asinine statement that makes no sense with nothing to back it up. And I don't know if you thoroughly, genuinely believe that, or you're just trying to.
No, I do. I believe it.
You can't really compare eras anyway, though, because
he's just trying to make an inflammatory comment. Move past it, but Kyle, that was maybe the dumbest thing I've heard today.
I don't know, Ben. Can you hear yourself?
Oh my God!
Man, here we go.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
God,
you insulted me. Anyways, what we're going to talk about? Well, before we'll go to we'll go to college next. Last thing, really quickly. I guess I'll go Scott. Really quickly, is Bryce Petty back in 2018? Or sorry, I should rephrase it. Who's more likely to be back, and what is your prediction on Bryce Petty versus Christian Hackenberg back in 2018? Are they both back? Is Christian Hackenberg back, or is Bryce Petty back?
I will kill myself if that happens.
I think that there's going to be, obviously, a new quarterback. We all agree on that, whether it's a draft pick or Kirk Cousins. I think if there's a draft pick, you could see two new quarterbacks, because you could see a situation where, let's say the Jets draft Lamar Jackson or Baker Mayfield. Both guys could potentially be in a situation where because of the offenses they play in, they may need a little development. So you could see somebody like McCown or Tyrod Taylor, somebody who comes in and at least starts the season. If that happens, you're going to only see one of those two guys, Petty or Hackenberg. I suspect it's only going to be one of the two of them anyway. If you put a gun to my head and ask me right now, I think that Petty has a much stronger chance simply because, look, Todd Bowles is telling you, I think, all he needs to tell you, with the fact that he didn't say, like Kyle said before, we'll evaluate week to week, we'll see who looks good in practice, blah, 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 blah. He just said Bryce is the starter barring injury. And that to me says that I think they're afraid of Hackenberg because they don't want people to see right up close what they spent their second-round pick on and who they basically sold the fan base on being the savior quarterback for the last 2 years, only for him to be a nothing. So I would suspect that if Petty plays well the next couple of games, he could be back as a second or third stringer. I think if they sign Cousins, maybe he sticks as the backup. If they draft a guy, maybe he ends up as the third stringer and the long-term backup. But I have a hard time thinking that if Christian Hackenberg can't even get any playing time over Bryce Petty now, I mean, I don't know what would change between now and the beginning of next season that would make it a different story. So I think much stronger chance, at least from what you observe now, that Petty's on the roster than Hackenberg.
Here's the hot take. And Scott, you said this, and I'm kind of confused by it unless I'm missing something. You said that they tried to sell us on Hackenberg as being the future of the franchise. When? When did they try to do that?
When they drafted him before the season, when they told you, our plan was we sat him a year, and now this is going to be his time to shine. And so there have been multiple times where they tried to sell you on just have patience with Christian Hackenberg. When they drafted him in the second round, they said, we see these traits. We think he could be a real quarterback, a starting level quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I asked Mac after the Jets-Patriots game in 2016. I was like, Christian Hackenberg, is he our savior or whatever? And he was like, we'll see. Just gave, obviously just some, generic answer.
Yes,
Kyle,
to
yeah.
Go away. Yeah.
Little kid coming from we're not.
But I think that they knew this is the problem, and I wrote about this last year. I think the reason that Hackenberg didn't even play in that last game against Buffalo, that meant absolutely nothing to anybody, is that they realized how bad he actually was, and they were terrified of putting him out there and letting people see it because you know what happens when you do that? You get the Paxton Lynch situation. And so when you're John Elway and you're a hero to the franchise as somebody who's been to 5 Super Bowls as a player, won 2 Super Bowls as a player, won 1 as an executive, taking the team to 2 Super Bowls as an executive, you get a lot of leeway that a guy like Mike McCagnon and a coach like Todd Bowles don't get if you have such a terrible failure in that regard. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily means you fire a guy over 1 second-round pick, but it is something where if you sell the fan base on this is our quarterback of the future and he's not even good enough to get on the field over Bryce Petty, I mean, that's rough, So I think that's a big part of why we probably won't see him the rest of the year is because people will say, what do you have to lose? Well, what you have to lose is you put him out there and people see for themselves just how bad the guy is. Then now all of a sudden, instead of being able to just kind of, quietly get rid of him as you bring in Baker Mayfield or Kirk Cousins and people are focused on that, you give people something going into the offseason going, oh, my God, I can't believe they spent a draft pick on that guy. He was so bad. You know what I mean?
Hot take, John Elway is a bum as a GM or whatever he does. He's basically everything. I know he's got a different title, but he makes all the decision moves. He's done very little for that team. And obviously, they won a Super Bowl primarily because of a phenomenal defense built off 1 good first-round draft pick in Von Miller and a really nice undrafted free agent signing, Chris Harris Jr. And, obviously the Peyton Manning signing was nice. Peyton wanted to go there anyway. But
that's huge. That's so huge, though, man, because nobody thought he was going to Denver, and Elway recruited him.
That's a big deal. Peyton wanted to go to Denver anyway. That was his going point.
I mean, all I can tell you is the reports when Peyton became available, I didn't see anybody saying he was going to Denver.
Miami. It was mostly Miami.
Yeah, Miami, Arizona. You heard different things, but I didn't hear Denver came out of nowhere. You got to give Elway credit for being able to pull him in, and there were other successes there since Elway's been in charge. You know, that whole defense was a really strong defense, and it was a lot of different players that he largely brought in. You know, Wolf is another one. You talked about then there's Malik Jackson.
He's got off the field problems. Malik Jackson, you know, he eventually left. I don't know if Malik Jackson, if he drafted him or not, but I mean, he's all right. I mean, he's not a great player. I would put him at the same level as like Steve McClendon. I mean, I know they play different roles in the defense.
You think Malik Jackson's on the same level as Steve McClendon? Is Steve McClendon getting $100 million?
I'm saying that Malik Jackson's highly overpaid, just like most players in the NFL.
I'm not saying he's not overpaid, but I mean, he's certainly on a level above Steve McClendon. Either way, when you draft a guy that can be a meaningful starter, and this is what we were talking about before with McCagnon, right? When you pick guys in the mid-rounds and late rounds that can be meaningful starters, that's what keeps your team running, because in the salary cap era, you need to keep continuously replenishing. And this is why Bill Belichick does the thing where he stocks up on draft picks, because if you have 3 second-round picks and you fail on one of them, it's okay. He has more bites at the apple, so to speak. And that's the whole thing with him, is that he has all that success because he stockpiles these picks. He'll take some chances that other teams can't afford to take. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. But I'm just saying, Elway, I think, has largely done pretty well. Now it's going to be interesting because the Peyton Manning thing, I think, really lifted them a lot. And once he was out of the picture, you've seen that it's been a lot rougher with Trevor Siemian and with Paxton Lynch, who he clearly missed on pretty badly. So now we'll see if Elway's got another run in him. But I think overall, I mean, I can't imagine most Bronco fans would be upset with the performance. Ben, what do you think? Am I crazy?
I think we're talking about, what are we talking about, Elway?
Yeah.
I zoned out when we were
paying
talking about
attention.
Hey, you don't pay attention half the show either, Kyle. Well, no, you're talking about Elway. I think it was Kyle just saying that. I heard Kyle say that John Elway's a bad GM or something, and then I kind of just.
I called him a.
Yeah, he said Elway has basically been an overrated GM, and I said I don't think that he's Ron Wolf, but he's been. I thought his performance has been overall pretty good, and the fact
for sure. I mean, Kyle.
Super Bowl. Yeah, for
sure. I mean, Kyle, Exactly. They've been to 2 Super Bowls. I mean, even that 2015 one, Peyton Manning was not that good. It was a Brock Osweiler, Peyton Manning team. I mean, you think about all the people he acquired. And when exactly did John Elway take? Was it 2011? Was it the Von Miller year, or was it? When did he take power? Because I know he was there. I'm trying to think of when exactly he. I think it was post Tebow, but.
No, he was there with Tebow. Don't you remember him celebrating when Tebow had that play?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying I think he was post drafting Tebow. Is what I'm
saying.
No,
I'm pretty sure. I remember. I think he was right after the Josh McDaniels era, because I remember him. I'm pretty sure, and I'll check it right now. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure because that 2010 season was so bad. That 2010, there you go, 2011. So that was the year they drafted Von Miller. So you think about it. He got Von Miller, and according to Kyle, the all-time greatest pass rusher. I mean, you think about all the people he acquired, and Aqib Talib, Chris Harris, I mean, DeMarcus Ware.
Derek Wolf, Malik Jackson.
Think of Brandon Marshall. I mean, all the guys he built on defense. And, he doesn't deserve all the
Peyton Manning to come there.
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas. I mean, it's actually Thomas might have been the year before that. But, it's just.
Yeah,
look,
Thomas was the Tebow year.
Yeah, so it's just like, I don't know. I think that, Kyle, I think you're not giving him enough credit. I think he's done a great job. This past year, I think, has been rough. I think he definitely could have. He tried to win it with this window, and he didn't do enough at the quarterback position. But he's trusting his agent. So but Kyle, he's going to nuke the team. He's going to nuke the team. He's going to get rid of a lot of these older guys that don't deserve to be on it. He's going to get his quarterback, and I guarantee you in 2 years the Broncos will be making playoff runs again. So,
but a lot of these old guys that you're talking about that he needs to nuke were the ones he thought could replace, guys that left.
He brought them in and got them to 2 Super Bowls with them, and now their window's closed. That's how the NFL works. the guys develop. They keep developing, and then they hit their prime. Their window is fully open, and then after that, it's all downhill, and the window slowly shrinks. And Elway brought them in at their peak, and ever since they've been here, they've gotten older, and the windows shrink, and then you get rid of them, and that's the life in NFL, and that's what he's he'll replace him with other guys, and I trust John Elway as a drafter, as a guy who uses free agency correctly. He's kind of the guy I would kind of look to as far as balancing using free agency and the draft. I don't think he had a terrific offseason last year.
Elway's free agency moves.
Go ahead. All right, let's go to the quarterbacks, and then we'll wrap this up. I guess Kyle's looking it up. I'd normally go to Kyle first since he's very excited to talk about draft quarterbacks. So, Kyle, are you ready to receive, or do you need to look at John Elway's stats a little bit more? I'll take that as
I guess he's looking at John Elway.
Impressive things that he's done.
Literally any of those top tier guys on his defense, he brought in. So, think of literally all of them. And even if you throw in guys that aren't even there anymore, like Malik Jackson.
Yeah, come on. Listen, this is the funny thing.
Top tier. Calm down.
Malik Jackson was
during that Super Bowl year.
What round was Malik Jackson picked in, though? And he was a quality starting.
I think the third, if I remember.
Well, there you go. Anytime you pick a third-round pick who goes on to get a $100 million contract, that's pretty good.
Jacksonville is notorious for overpaying people. That's kind of
but even if he was only worth $50 million, still to get a guy that good in the third round is quality.
Fifth round. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Okay. Fifth round.
Yeah, it's a great pick.
Throws out random numbers.
I honestly thought it was the third round.
Well, there you go. He has 27.5 sacks in his career of 5 years. That's pretty solid. As far as a defensive tackle goes, you're not going to give him any credit. Von Miller has 80.
He played with Von Miller
and he's the all-time leading pass rusher, apparently.
Played with Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware.
I don't know. Anyways, let's
for a fifth-round pick, that's a quality pick. There's no really way to argue that.
Kyle, I know you're trying to be biased here, but he's having a terrific year here with Jacksonville too. He has the highest Pro Football grade. He had their highest Pro PFF grade this weekend for them. I saw that. And he has 7 sacks so far in the year.
There you go for a defensive tackle.
For a defensive tackle. Good. Kyle, he's a Pro Bowler. He's a Pro Bowl defensive tackle in this league.
Got more sacks than anybody on the Jets.
Yeah, by
Andy
quite a bit.
Was a Pro Bowler last year, done.
The quarterbacks is a different argument, but as far as a defensive tackle, anyways, and he's been a big part of the Jaguars. Have had a pretty good season this year.
Hey, we beat them though, so Super Bowl champion Jets.
Look, he traded back in and got Shane Ray, who's
he's got off the field problems, who has failed.
Shane Ray's been okay.
That was a cheap, low risk move that he made that he's worked out.
Really hasn't paid off.
Derek Wolfe brought in T.
Another guy was
brought in DeMarcus Ware, brought in Von Miller.
Drafted Von Miller with a very high pick, was considered a very high-end talent, wasn't hard to perceive.
Yeah, that one I'll give you, but when you're talking about the fact that he talked Peyton Manning into coming in there when most people thought he was going elsewhere, and when you talk about guys like Derek Wolfe,
I will give him Chris Harris, undrafted free agent. I will give him that.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, why won't you give him Malik Jackson a fifth round?
Okay, now we got fifth-round players that are Pro Bowlers. We got undrafted free agents, and you're acting like this guy's a bum. He took them to 2 Super Bowls, convinced one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time to come to Denver. Come on, Kyle.
Denver is a very nice
What more else? What more do you need? Well, this guy is convinced big-time free agents to come there. He's drafted well in every round. He's a very good GM. I don't think. This is the Jet Taker. We're talking about John Elway. Look, I think this past offseason he could have done better, but I think this next offseason I think you're going to see. I'm telling you, in 2 years the Broncos will be back in the playoffs. No doubt.
And he missed on Paxton Lynch, but you know what? When you build a team that goes to the Super Bowl twice, and when your record is pretty stellar otherwise, you can survive a pick like that, and people will forgive you. It's a lot harder when you're somebody like Mike McCagnon, and you don't have that kind of track record. But he's going to have his chance to make good on that with
Yeah, and sorry to cut you off, but I think he probably also felt pressure since Peyton Manning was retiring, and it's like they just won the Super Bowl, and it's like, or maybe they had just won the Super Bowl. Osweiler, who was their guy they were gonna have, just left to go to Houston. Peyton Manning retired, so now he's left with nobody, and then this guy's available. And I think he just took him, man. He liked the prospect, and, it didn't work out. But it wasn't like this is a thing where he traded up. He loved this guy. I mean, it was more of a pick out of necessity, and that's not a situation he wanted to be in. I think he put himself in that situation by not, locking down Brock Osweiler, but, looking at other options. But I'm just saying he took a chance there, took a gamble. I mean, that was kind of what he just, and hindsight 2020, maybe he should have gotten Dak Prescott.
Tell me if you think it's good.
All right.
Listen to this team and tell me.
I mean, he's rebuilding the team, but okay, go ahead.
Not really, though, because it's primarily centered around veterans. If we were rebuilding, you got to throw in Paxton Lynch at some point, because Trevor Siemian and
Trevor Siemian was a seventh rounder. What was Siemian, a seventh rounder? I mean, pretty solid find.
Seventh round pick, yeah.
For a seventh rounder,
it's not bad.
A guy who can be a very solid backup in this league. I mean, the Jets might not even get that other second rounder.
That's true.
What? Trevor Siemian?
As a backup?
As a backup, Kyle? He'd be probably the best backup, one of the best backups in this league, Kyle. I mean, he started.
Pretty solid backup. 2 years.
I'd take Josh McCown over him.
Well, Josh McCown's also almost 40.
Yeah, exactly. And if you drafted Josh McCown in the 7th round, you'd be pretty happy with that.
You guys value these things weirdly.
Kyle, I think you value these things weirdly. Let's move on to the quarterbacks and let's wrap this. If
you get a productive player in the 7th round, it's a win.
A backup quarterback. Like, I don't think drafting a backup quarterback is good. Like,
in the 7th round? In the 7th round, yeah, I'll take
Matt Flynn off the street tomorrow.
And Matt Flynn will not put up as much as Matt Flynn. Will not put up as much as Trevor Siemian. The Broncos now have a guy who's 24, and he's going to be their backup for the next 6 years, and knows the system. Can come in if the starter goes down. I mean, look at how many times Matt Moore has pinch hit for the Dolphins.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
Got into the playoffs. I mean, it's like a backup quarterback is very valued. I bet you the Eagles wish they had a very good backup quarterback right now.
They do.
Nick Foles, we'll see how he performs. He might be good. I actually think Nick Foles is a solid backup quarterback, so that might have been a bad example. But I'm just saying, look at that. If they were starting Paxton Lynch, they wouldn't be doing too well. But the fact that they have a guy, and I guess Nick Foles, I think he's a pretty solid backup. But even if we were to throw Trevor Siemian, they can at least win some games with him. I mean, think about what Jacoby Brissett, he's had a pretty nice season. I mean, could you imagine how much worse the Colts would be without him?
I think
Brissett's a 3rd-round pick, too.
In the league.
What was Brissett again? Was Brissett a
3rd-round pick?
3rd-round pick, NC State.
Yeah.
Wow.
The thing for me is, look, if you get a guy who can be your long-term backup in the 7th round, it's a win. Because most times 7th-round picks don't amount to anything.
Yeah, Kyle, who do you think is a great GM? Who do you think is the all-time best GM?
Well, there's an easy answer to that, but
I know it too.
Probably Ron Wolf.
Okay, there you go. So
that's fair. That's fair. I would say Bill Polian, but Wolf is a fair one.
I don't know, but probably Bill Polian in his prime. He's gone a little away these past couple years. I don't.
I mean, he works at ESPN, so.
Jackson was a wide receiver, and I lost some hope. If I'm going to be,
he's listening to Rex Ryan
Ron
too
Wolf
much.
Is the Packers. Let's go to Ron Wolf. Let's go to the Packers. Like what? Give me a random year.
Probably like
2001. So I'll ask Scott. Scott, give me a random year between. Oh wait, what were you going to say, Kyle?
I was going to say 92.
Okay, 1992 draft. Let's just look at this draft.
Oh, I'm just talking about the year 1992, like the talent.
No, I just chose the 1992 draft. Let's see how they did. They got Terrell Buckley, Mark D'Onofrio, Robert Brooks, Edgar Bennett, Dexter McNabb, Orlando McKay.
Robert Brooks and Edgar Bennett were both very good players. They weren't like
you know who Terrell Buckley is?
No.
Yeah, I remember Terrell Buckley. He was okay.
Yeah, and he was picked 5th overall in that first round.
Yeah, that
so whiffed on the second round. I mean, look at this. Ty Detmer.
I've heard that name before.
Are you a quarterback?
I don't know why.
Brett Collins.
The fact of the matter is, if you can walk out of a draft with impact players in the rounds where you're expected to get them, which is rounds 1 and 2, and then if you can, in addition to that, come out of there with another, say, 2 or 3 meaningful players, That's a win, man.
So, Kyle, the all-time best GM in your mind, out of 12 picks, and I'm probably not the best guy to ask because I was -8 years old when this draft happened. You probably got 3 or 4 out of 12 that hit. So you're criticizing a 7th-round pick for being a pretty good backup, a pretty top-tier young backup that you can have. Let's go to the quarterbacks. Kyle, let's hear quarterback rankings and why, and we'll just open up discussion on these draft quarterbacks. Really, the draft in general, if you want to talk. But Kyle, I know you love talking drafts. I do too. But I'll let you open up the table and whatever you want us to talk about, all things draft.
Yeah, we'll start with the quarterback rankings because I got some new ones. All right, number 1, Josh Rosen. That isn't changing unless frat boy gets caught with cocaine or something. I mean, he's probably going to stay number 1.
But he might play even better then, apparently, according to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a proven fact.
Go through his reads way faster.
Yeah, I mean, his eyes will be all over the place. He'll see
1, 2, 3.
He'll see 3 of his wide receivers and anticipate where he's going to be forward, so he'll just throw it there.
Imagine what he could do on LSD.
Wow. He won't. Yeah, the turf would be blue like at Boise. It would be amazing. Number 2, Heisman winner, Baker Mayfield. Broadway Baker. Looking forward to it. Going to buy that number 6 jersey. It's going to look nice. Number 3.
Just tape over your Sanchez one.
I do not have the Mark Sanchez jersey.
I have like 4 Mark Sanchez jerseys. That was my guy.
Oh, boy.
That's because you're a fanboy.
No, it's because I was like 9, and he was, that was when I...
Did you look up to grown men when you were 9 years old, Ben?
Mark Sanchez was probably my favorite player when I was like 9, 10, 11. I mean, I liked Sanchez even when I was... It was really the butt fumble when I woke up to the fact that this guy was not a good quarterback. Keep in mind, I was 12 years old, so,
Kids.
Anyways, continue.
All right, number 3, Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Number 4, this is where it gets tricky because of individuals who are going to declare or not.
If you think, let's pretend Darnold's declaring. Let's pretend everybody's declaring.
Okay.
Because we don't even know if Rosen's declaring.
He's 100% declaring.
No, he didn't. He denied that on his Twitter.
Ben, there is...
Didn't he get into a fight with somebody about that on Twitter?
On Twitter,
yeah,
I haven't said anything.
Charlie Campbell from Walter Football, a notorious liar.
Yes.
He put out a report saying Rosen declared.
Yeah, and then Rosen... Yeah, and then Rosen said he didn't, so I don't know.
I mean...
I think, yeah, he's going to declare. I'm just saying,
That's
I'm just
like
saying
when,
for a while there. I mean, it's not completely for sure. I'm pretty sure
that was like when Gordon Hayward got like the news broken on him. And he's like, "Oh, I haven't made a decision."
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying you don't know for sure. I mean, it's a 99.9% chance, and I'm pretty sure that.
I have 30 million reasons why he will declare.
Yeah, for sure. But anyways, and let's pretend Darnold's declaring as well. So you have 1 Rosen, 2 Mayfield, 3 Jackson, 4 Darnold, or are you going to go somewhere else? Okay, 4 Darnold.
Then 5, this is going to be the coward's way out, but this is a 3-way tie. Okay.
Oh, no. You got to rank them. No ties. There's no ties in quarterback rankings, Kyle. You could say it's very close and that you can really interchangeable.
Yeah. I'm going to say interchangeable between Will Grier and Mason Rudolph.
Okay, so you're going Will Grier 5th, Mason Rudolph 6th.
Yeah.
And Luke Falk, I assume, is 7th, or Josh Allen come in any
Josh Allen 7th, just as a prospect. Luke Falk, I mean...
Take him as an H-back or a tight end, according to Joe Caporoso.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That was great. I'm surprised I didn't catch, any flack. I didn't see it get big or anything, unless I completely missed it. But it was pretty funny. I laughed at it.
It was definitely funny. It was a little insane because the difference, of course, is that, not that I believe that Lamar Jackson should play wide receiver, but I could see a world where Lamar Jackson would be a successful wide receiver, and I could not see a world where Josh Allen could be a successful wide receiver. So that to me is the difference. But it was definitely a funny article.
I don't know. The Jets love their H-backs, man. I mean...
This is true.
Yeah. And then Luke Falk would be number 8. I actually like Luke Falk as a prospect. He just turns the ball over too much. He loves to check down, and he really reminds me of Kirk Cousins in a lot of ways.
I'm surprised Will Greer moved up to your board because you hated him. You loved Josh Allen. You hated Will Greer at the start of the year.
I hated Will Greer because he was successful at another college and he wasn't successful at Florida.
Really? That's the reason you hated him?
Yeah, I mean, he left the program. And then he got good, even though he sucked for us. Like, actually sucked. But he's actually not bad. So
yeah. Oh, late round guy.
Yeah.
All right, Scott. How different are your rankings to what you just said?
I got him similar. I don't know, man. It's weird. I still have this weird thing that I think Darnold may end up being the best pro of the bunch, but I mean, certainly.
I feel like Eli Manning in him.
I've seen people say that. I think he could be better than Eli, but if he is Eli, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. I think Eli's been one of the most overrated players in the league for a long time, but he's still been a good quarterback. So, Jets could do worse. I could see. I think a lot of people are gonna have Rosen 1, and I totally understand that. Mayfield's probably 3. If you were bigger and a little bit bulkier, I would say that you can make a case for him to be number 1. But I think a lot of people are going to have him down a little bit because of his size. I'd say Lamar Jackson is 4, although I like Lamar Jackson a lot. It's funny because the more people, Benjamin Albright talked about this again today. He said the more people he talks to, they all say that Lamar Jackson is 5th on the list and not going to be a first-round pick. Now, to be fair, we heard a lot of that around Deshaun Watson last year as well, and he didn't end up going in the top 15, so who really knows? After that, I like Luke Falk, like Kyle was saying. He's got lead feet, and he's got a terrible internal clock. I don't know how fixable those things are, but there are some traits there. I like his accuracy, his decision-making in general is pretty good. He does turn the ball over. I don't know. It's weird because, like you said, there's a lot of Kirk Cousins there. I think that's his absolute ceiling. So he might be a guy that you grab at some point. Josh Allen's an interesting one only in the sense that I almost feel like Bill Simmons used to call it the overrated, underrated thing, where it kind of swoops around. So I think that he was so overrated that now people are crapping on him so bad that maybe now he's becoming a little underrated in the sense that people are saying, oh, he should be an undrafted free agent or something like that. I don't know, man. Maybe if not a first-round pick, but maybe if he was available in like the 3rd or 4th, he might be worth taking a stab at or something like that. It's funny with Josh Allen because Jeff Lloyd and I were talking all off-season about everybody's talking up this guy, and I've yet to see good tape from him. I was like, everybody's saying he's going to be a first-round pick, and he's got this arm, and he's got all the tools. All right, well, at some point, show me something, and he hasn't. I don't know where his good tape is.
Yeah, I remember Kyle texted me, and I was in Seattle, and Kyle was like, yeah, this guy's number 1 because we were talking about the quarterbacks. And so I was like, all right, let's go watch some tape. I mean, I haven't watched a Wyoming game, and this was over the summer. I was like, this guy kind of sucks. Like, I mean, he's not that good. He reminded me immediately of Paxton Lynch, and that was probably just because he was just some big, guy with a big arm. But
sure,
yeah,
I don't know. He did not develop as a passer as much as I hoped he would have. You cannot deny his athletic ability, and you cannot deny his deep accuracy. The kid has an amazing deep ball, and I know that's very strikingly.
Well, you were saying, he's this year's like Pat Mahomes, kind of like. He'll come out.
Pat Mahomes is a much
amazing arm talent, stuff like that. All right. Well, as far as mine go, pretty similar. Rosen, number 1, can make all the throws. Kyle, I don't know what to do with you, Kyle. You bring too much negativity to the show. Scott, I'm glad you're here because without you, I think I would have thrown my laptop out the window by now. Josh Rosen, number 1, can make all the throws.
I would have celebrated.
See, like, what is this? This is the guy I'm running a podcast with. All right, Josh Rosen, number 1, can make all the throws. Number 2, it's between Lamar and Baker for me, and
Wow.
I think they're pretty interchangeable. I'll put Lamar 2 and Baker 3, but I think, really anybody can go. I think he can swap either of them. I'm big fans. For the Jets, though, I might say Baker. I think Lamar has so much talent, but he's going to need to sit for a bit and learn. So, but pure just
then if they have to sit, they're not a first-round pick.
I mean, that's just not accurate whatsoever. I mean, Jared Goff is the pretty good quarterback right now, and he's had his rookie year. I mean, Pat Mahomes was picked. Was Pat Mahomes not a first-round pick?
I mean, he ended up being one.
I mean, you were saying how amazing he was. I mean, Mike Glennon started over Mitch Trubisky.
That's because John Fox.
First-round pick, Kyle.
That's because
what
John
a
Fox
stupid point. You might have almost topped your John Elway's a dud or your Von Miller's the greatest pass rusher of all time. For somebody who is so arrogant, you have the worst takes I've ever seen. I hope you know.
John Fox is an idiot, and also Andy Reid has.
You're talking John Elway. But okay.
I hope Mitch Trubisky turns out to be really good. I hope Mitch Trubisky turns out to be really good for selfish reason because I was at his first career start.
Wow. I mean, Kyle liked him. Kyle's two quarterbacks were Trubisky and Mahomes, and mine were Watson and Kaiser. Kaiser's, he had a pretty nice game over the weekend when he finally got a weapon and he's had time to learn the game, and then Watson was amazing until he got hurt. Trubisky's been up and down. He's had some moments, and we've yet to see Mahomes. But I don't know. Right now, I think Watson...
Mahomes during the Jets game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mahomes should be playing right now. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I guess,
this may be another hot take. I'm kind of in the business of this. I don't think...
They're called cold takes, but okay.
Oh, all right. Got me there. I don't think Andy Reid is a top 10 coach, at least anymore. Like, he may have been in his prime days in Philadelphia. Andy Reid loves to not use players, specifically quarterbacks, correctly. An example of Alex Smith.
I mean, that's really...
I just hate how conservative his offenses are.
I mean, Kyle, you're really just saying that because Pat Mahomes. I mean, give me another example of Andy Reid mismanaging quarterbacks. I mean... I might be teeing myself up here, but the Mike Vick move when he was at the Eagles worked out pretty well for him, moving on from Donovan McNabb, who did not much else after that.
McNabb. Who was that quarterback?
Kevin Kolb?
Kevin
Kolb.
Cobb.
I don't know. I mean, Kolb, but Kyle, I mean, he went to Mike Vick. I don't know what you're saying, mismanaging quarterbacks.
He has historically mismanaged players in Philly and Kansas City.
Give me some names.
Currently, Justin Houston, how they're using him, putting him in coverage. We saw that in the Jets game, first of all. He shouldn't be doing that anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But, I mean, could you blame that more on Bob Sutton? Could you blame that more on Bob Sutton, the defensive coordinator?
At the end of the day, it's the head coach's call.
So, do you...
By the way, hot take, Justin Houston, one of the most underrated players in the league.
In his prime,
Kyle thought
anymore.
Jordan Jenkins was going to be Justin Houston, correct, right? And you also thought Justin Burris was Patrick Peterson.
Yep.
Jesus.
Yeah. This is your hot take guy you run the post-game pod with, Scott.
Yeah. and this is why you're not invited, Ben.
Oh, I'm coming this Sunday because now it's winter break. I don't got anything to do. I probably should be there. I'm going to do one before the year ends.
Ben, you realize I determine whether you come on.
No, you don't. It's Scott's show, so you determine nothing.
I mean, I don't think
we do have a very special guest lined up. I don't know. I don't like announcing these things in advance because stuff happens at the last minute.
Jones.
Looks like we've got something good coming up this Sunday. But Ben, I'll tell you what, Kyle, how about this? No. Why don't we extend an invitation? To Ben to come on either on New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve? Come on, 'tis the season.
Happy Hanukkah.
No, I'll come on. What about after that Chargers game?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't like you.
Okay. Well, one of them, Scott, I want to come on. I mean, if I can, then it's okay. But the fact that this guy is on your show.
Let's figure out.
Garrett Grayson was the next Peyton Manning. There's clips of that.
Still hoping that.
We'll do Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, Ben. We'll get you on. Don't worry.
All right, I'm down. I think that's a good place to end it. Any other final thoughts we want to throw? Oh, yeah, I was basically just going to go with Rosen. My Jackson Mayfield is going back and forth. Darnold I still like, has a lot of talent. And then, yeah, it's pretty much the back end is pretty similar to all these guys. I think, Josh Allen has a high ceiling, but I really wouldn't use anything other than a fourth or a fifth on him because he's another, Christian Hackenberg type of guy that's going to have to sit for a year.
Much better athlete than Hackenberg.
Oh,
though,
well,
sure.
Obviously. I mean, definitely. I think he's a better prospect, and I think he'll at least play in the games, but he's going to need some time. So, and where the Jets are right now. I mean, he's not what they want. I think Falk has some very intriguing qualities, but as Kyle mentioned, I mean, what did he throw? Like 6 turnovers, 6 interceptions in a game. So that's if you're throwing them in college against Pac-12 defenses, I don't know how you're going to do in the NFL.
Hey, USC's got a pretty good defense.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think he has some talent as well. Greer from West Virginia. I mean, he threw 7 touchdowns, but again, so did Geno Smith. So I think there's some late round quarterbacks. I think one of those guys, maybe another guy that comes out of nowhere will be. I mean, there's always a 3rd or 4th round pick that's like, gosh, damn it, why didn't the Jets pick him? By the way, Kyle, the Blazers won. So, anyways, but that's where I'll have him for now. Once we get through the combine and I get a chance to watch more tape. But right now, I'll say Rosen, Jackson, Mayfield, Darnold is the top 4. I mean, I'm sick of people throwing Jackson like he's not anything. I mean, people are like, so the top 3 quarterbacks, Mayfield, Darnold, and Rosen. And like people are like, so Jackson should go to wide receiver. And it's like, I mean, maybe if it doesn't work out for him as a quarterback, but it's like, this guy is some unbelievable talent, not just running. And then, is he a terrific athlete? Sure, but I mean, he's throwing the ball 30 times a game. He's making great deep throws. He can throw intermediate. He's making reads, looking off safeties. I don't know. I think he's being overlooked quite a bit.
I like him too, but I will say this. To me, and I know I've had arguments with people about this, but Bill Polian is one of the greatest.
Oh my God! Every week it's Bill Polian said he's not going to be good. All I'm saying,
I
know the point.
It's one thing when some idiot on the internet says something, but when Bill Polian says it, I just want to know why. Like, I'm curious, and I talked to Mark Schofield from Inside the Pylon about this as well. We both agree with you, Ben. We both think that Lamar Jackson's a good quarterback prospect, but we both agree that when somebody with the track record of success is like Polian says what he says, I'd like to hear why. That's all.
I agree. But I will say I think Lamar Jackson is a different type of quarterback than Bill Polian's used to. I think there's a new age of quarterback.
He did champion RG3.
I'm not. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, I guess that does go to prove your point, but I'm saying, I mean, like, he's deciding Peyton Manning's a pocket passer. I mean, you look at the new age quarterbacks: Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Marcus Mariota. I mean,
sure.
There is a place for dual threat quarterbacks in this league. If they can be top level passers, a dual threat quarterback is almost the best type of quarterback you can have. I mean, look at the success Carson and Russell have had. I mean, if they can pass and they can run, you'll take that. So I think
even go back further than that. I mean, Steve Young, John Elway, those weren't guys that necessarily.
You're right. But I'm saying, I mean, look at the guy that Bill Polian championed was Peyton Manning, and I think that Bill Polian obviously knows more than I do, or Kyle, Mr. Garrett Grayson's the next Peyton Manning, or even you yourself, Scott. So I agree.
No,
I can see that Bill Polian's opinion definitely deserves to be heard. But it's like these, an NFL GM selected Mike McCagnon in the second round. So I don't know. I think we're all entitled to our own opinions.
Yeah,
right now,
for sure.
I'm on the Lamar Jackson bandwagon purely based off the ceiling this guy has. I don't know if the Jets are the right place for him, but I think.
No, I agree with you, man.
With a guy like Rosen and maybe even like Baker Mayfield. I think Mayfield might actually have a higher floor than Lamar Jackson does, but I think Lamar Jackson has a higher ceiling than Mayfield. That's the toss-up that I'm going with. Is if I'm ranking him as prospects, you go long run, and I'll take Jackson. But for the Jets, might have Baker Mayfield ahead of Jackson.
I agree with you. I like Jackson a lot, Ben. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just, and I also, my point with RG3 wasn't so much, it was just to illustrate that Polian's not a guy that's like, he's got to be 6'5" and have a cannon of an arm.
They took Luck. It was a pretty easy decision. But
no, he was gone. He was gone when they took Luck.
Yeah, he wasn't with the Colts.
He wanted RG3.
I don't know. No,
it was a year after Cam Newton.
Yeah, no, I know RG3. Yeah, I know RG3 came out in 2012. I'm saying I don't know when Bill Polian left.
No, Polian was out at the end of 2011. The story supposedly was that Polian wanted to draft RG3 keep Manning for a year and let RG3 learn under Peyton Manning, and the ownership wanted Andrew Luck, so that was the point of contention. And I know you.
I mean, the ownership made the right move there, I guess. I mean,
all right, well, I mean, sure, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying that he was right on that particular call. My main point in bringing that up is that I don't know that it's fair to say that Bill Polian's one of these guys that won't adjust at the times and doesn't like dual threat quarterbacks. That's all I'm saying.
You're definitely right, and I think I need to watch more of Darnold because I think it is unfair to throw him at fourth. I think he needs work as well, but again,
sure.
If you have a career like Eli Manning, that's not the worst thing in the world. So
no.
And who knows? Anyways, I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Any last words, boys?
All right.
Kyle, anything you want to add?
I'm good, dog.
All right.
Yeah, let me just throw in quick Friday. Brand new play like a Jet.
I had a whole. I was gonna. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you think I was gonna cut you? Just leave it out? No, I was gonna.
I didn't know.
I was gonna say thank you, Scott, for joining us. As always, you run a terrific show. Play like a Jet. Under the same TOJ branch. So if you'd like to plug any, I had a whole thing. But okay, fire away. What's this Friday? What can our listeners switch over and hear going on in your pod?
Thanks, Ben. I apologize. I will not do that again. I wasn't sure where you were going with it, but it's going to be part 4 of our series on the Monday Night Miracle with Marcus Coleman. And like I've been saying, it's a lot of fun because if you've ever wanted to watch one of the most famous games in Jets history with one of the guys that was one of the biggest stars of that particular game, this is your opportunity to do it. And I say that because not only can you hear Marcus Coleman and I go through the game play by play, but because the NFL was nice enough to put the game up on YouTube, you can actually pull it up on YouTube and watch along with us. It was really cool, and for me as a longtime hardcore Jets fan, it was a lot of fun to do. So we're going to get into the second half this week. We got into halftime. The Jets were losing 23-7 when we stopped last week. Now we'll get to see if the tide turns. Now, obviously, the game's called the Monday Night Miracle, and if you know anything about it or you can just figure out from the name of it, the tide's going to turn at some point. But when does that happen? How does it happen? You'll find out. And I brought this up with Joe Caporoso on the Turn on the Jets podcast this week. There's some very interesting stuff, including on commentary, a very, very famous person who came in to do a couple of minutes of guest commentary in the Monday Night Football booth. And even though the Jets were down 23-7 early in the third quarter, he said he believed the Jets were going to come back, they were going to win, and he believes that Wayne Corbett was one of the major reasons why. So you'll find out who this gentleman was.
I've watched it. I'm trying to think of who that was. I mean, it was like Schwarzenegger or somebody. It was somebody who just came into the booth and like, you want to give? Can you hint anything? Can you give us anything?
Let's just say very, very famous guy in several avenues, but certainly in Hollywood. He was one of the bigger Hollywood stars.
Schwarzenegger, right?
Yeah, Schwarzenegger's right.
Oh,
yep.
I got it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the game on YouTube during like English class or something. I remember.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, that's the best way to spend English class. So we'll do that for part 4. It's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be brand new on Friday on iTunes, turnonthejets.com, anywhere you can download podcasts. And then again, Sunday you got the post-game podcast with myself and Kyle. Ben, we're going to try and get you on if Kyle will lift the restraining order on either Christmas Eve or on New Year's Eve. We'll get you on. But this Sunday, Kyle and I will talk immediately following. And the thing I think is a lot of fun about it is Joe Caporoso does his written version of this, and then we come out with an audio version. So it's cool because if you want to sit and read it in the morning while you have your coffee, you can do that. Or if you want to listen to the audio version on your way into work, you can do that too. And like I said, we lined up a pretty special guest. I don't want to say anything because, like I said, these things fall through at the last second, so who knows. But if it comes through, it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And Ben, thank you so much for having me back on. Kyle, thank you for having me on as well. I'm looking forward to doing the post-game podcast with you on Sunday, my good friend. And Kyle, I got to tell you.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Kyle, I got to tell you, as much as you and Ben fight, it's funny because you and I really don't fight at all, so it's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, I wonder why.
a very different dynamic. You guys really, I know you're too young to know what I'm talking about, but you guys really are like the Felix and Oscar of this generation. I would love to see you guys living in a house together.
I'd kill myself.
All right. Well, wait, Kyle, can you get the ending soundbite thing ready? Because my soundbite thing's not working. So we'll wrap it. We'll end it here. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. I'm not offended that I'm not invited to the post-game podcast this weekend. It's okay.
Oh, wow.
It's whatever. We're still friends.
No, now you're on.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's like you thought.
Anyway, Scott, but thank you, man. Good work as always for the show you run. I mean, I've said this a million times, but I know how much work it takes to run a show like that. I think this episode, and this show, a lot of times Kyle and I will just kind of, ramble and wing it. But when we have an interview, I know how much work it takes to put it through. And when you have a guy who played on the team 30 years ago, the research and, amount of work you have to do, especially if you're doing a play-by-play type of thing with the guy, to make that entertaining and good content. And I listened to a bit of it. I mean, I know that's difficult, so I applaud you, and I encourage our listeners to go take a listen to the Play Like a Jet podcast, also under the Turn on the Jets digital network. Scott, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate the kind words, and trust me, the fact that you haven't been on the post-game podcast yet this year, it has nothing to do with me. It's a deal that you have to take up with your wife or husband or whichever you guys. I don't know who's what in this. Okay.
I don't think Kyle, you're not the man. What are you, 15?
I'm 16,
not that much.
I
was just gonna say he's not that much older than 15. So.
Anyways, we'll refrain from making some jokes. Scott, thank you so much, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Kyle. Before we end the show, last prediction for Jets Saints this weekend.
Blowout.
Any score total?
I don't know, but I think the defense will get more washed than Katrina.
All right, and on that note, we'll end it. As always, you can listen to our show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, YouTube, iHeartRadio. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. That's the best place to keep up with us. Over 1.1 thousand on Twitter. So make sure you go follow us there. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. But definitely Twitter is the best place to stay up with the show when we're recording, when we drop the latest episode. So thank you to you guys, as always. You can also find us on turnonthejets.com. Great stuff over there with Scott. He's featured writer, as well as Kyle, Joe Caparoso, Diaz, Sario, some of the best Jets writers over there on TOJ. Kyle, any last words?
Go Tank.
All right. We will leave you with the best chant in the National Football League. Kyle, that's your cue to get it ready. Okay, that was not the play. What a false start. What a horrible false start. I mean...